All right, today on the zoo, we have Constantine, the developer of Cinux 1.7 Pandora. Before we begin today's discussion, I would like to share with you a few words from our founder, Voltam.
Hi, I'm Voltam, founder of the Linux Distro community. The Linux Distro community is a place for people to hang out and discuss Linux distros, software, and open source. The Linux Distro community is a community funded by its members for its members. We are a friendly, welcoming community that encourages people who use Linux operating systems and software to share their passion and knowledge with other people. We believe that when people share information freely, everyone benefits. We'd love to see you become a part of the Linux Distro community. You can voice chat with us on Mumble or text chat with us in IRC. Head over to linuxdistrocommunity.com for details. Join in today in the sharing of knowledge and the freedom that a Linux operating system gives people. Thank you.
Thank you, Voltam. And on today's show, we are going to be discussing Linux from scratch and Cinux 1.7 Pandora. And before we begin with the discussion, I would like to welcome all of our guests. We have Constantine, the developer of Cinux 1.7. We have Oscailt from the Oscailt Foundation, and we have Setkeh. Now, some of you may or may not be aware that Oscailt has just started an e-learning series. Please tell us a little bit about that.
Yep, just today was the very first lesson, in fact, from one of my courses. It's a course in ethical hacking, so basically teaching people proper security measures on pen testing. It's a 12-week course that kind of gives people a beginner to hacking and things. And basically I want to create a whole set of courses, so I want to create more courses than just this one. This one's like the first sort of pioneering course, but I want to create a few so I can teach people all about Linux and the things I grew up with as a child, because these days I realize that people grow up with Windows and they don't get to learn about all this good stuff that I got to learn about, and I think people should get to learn about Linux.
And I'll tell you guys what, the first lesson was wonderful, the way he had it set up. He had a screencast that he was explaining everything, that he was showing us some things, and I like how he had the screencasting and everything set up. You are making a wonderful contribution to the community, and I can't thank you enough for this e-learning course. And speaking of people who are making a wonderful contribution to the community, we have Constantine, the developer of Cinux 1.7 Pandora. Now, Constantine, I had an opportunity to look at your distribution, and I've done a review on it, and all I can say is I really like what I'm seeing here. Please tell us a little bit about your operating system, and please also tell us what gave you the inspiration to start this project.
Well, to be honest, I always loved computers, and I always wanted to see myself creating something and contributing something to the open source community. I started off actually by trying to write my own kernel in C. It's out there, but it's not something you can rely on. It's just a kernel. I started creating the Linux system about 2 years ago. I think it was January of 2010. It was really nothing. It was just basically, a really base system. And after actually 1.5 years, I started adding applications. I added GNOME, and it became whatever it is today.
Now, interestingly enough, I really love what I'm seeing here, and I looked at 2 versions of this, and I really like the layout and everything. Why did you pick the GNOME 2 interface?
Well, the GNOME 2 interface was included in BLFS 6.3, so I kind of went with that, and after that it was a little difficult to swap to a newer version of GNOME, so I just tried to partially upgrade it, and that's why I created some sort of hybrid of GNOME 2. And if someone wants to upgrade GNOME 2 to GNOME 3, they can always do that with GNOME's tools like JH Build.
One thing that will be attractive to a number of users who try out your operating system is that I pronounce it GNOME. that the GNOME interface is very easy to customize.
It looks really nice. I have it setting up here in VirtualBox, and I'm really impressed. I really like it's really sleek and just it's simple. I actually really like that. And this is actually the first time I've got to see a distro that's been based on Linux from scratch. And I'm going to say kudos to their documentation, because this thing is absolutely beautiful to look at. It's a real good eyesight, visual distro. Don't know about practicality, but visually, it's awesome.
My question at the moment is, what made you pick Linux from scratch? I mean, I've built distros using Linux from scratch, like for personal use and stuff like that. I've never distributed one, and I was also, building distros from the ground up before things like Linux from scratch, and that came about. So I'm curious as to why you picked that as a base, because it is a very rather difficult way of getting the job done.
Exactly, and actually that's the reason I chose Linux from scratch, because it's difficult, and I didn't really want to take a well-known operating system like Ubuntu or Debian and build something on top of it. I wanted a challenge, and I actually liked what I was doing, so I liked everything about Linux from scratch, just because it is from scratch, and you can actually teach yourself, you can learn through that, and you can pass it along to the community.
Yeah, that's a real developer's answer there. Most developers like to have that whole sort of tinker with it and learn about it. I mean, I see a lot of distros these days that do get based on Arch, which is high level, of course, if you want to call it that, and Ubuntu and stuff. And most of them are just really bland, just, okay, here's a few applications on top of this. And it's really bland, so it is really nice to see someone that's actually went out of their way and built a proper distro from scratch. Because these days, to make an Ubuntu spin-off, it's really simple. You put on a little remaster synth on that thing, and it's done. Where's the challenge in that? Proper developers like that whole little challenge, and I really appreciate the fact that you took your time and learnt about it. When I was younger, that's what I had to do. I was just given a kernel and just said, well, I have to make this work somehow. So the only way to do it was to develop your own operating system. And trust me, if you want to get into depth with Linux, that is a really good way to go. I've actually just been having a quick browse at the Linux from scratch documentation, and I think it's a really good idea.
Somebody has a question here that I want to throw at you, but before I get to that, the thing that I really like about your operating system here is this is a nice base system that somebody can install and build on top of. But when somebody wants to build on top of that, one of my viewers was just asking on IRC Optic Tip, he wants to know what package management system do you like the most, and which one will you base your package management system on? Now, I remember you saying previously that you are working on your own package management system. Could you tell us a little something about that?
Sure. Well, first of all, I don't really have a favorite package management system, because I believe that somehow it creates a inevitable relationship with something, and you don't really open your heart, let's say, to something new. Well, about my own package manager, it's called Cynx Get. It's already included in the distro, and well, it won't be based off anything else. It's completely from scratch, and I've already had set up I believe the link is on the blog of how to create packages, and it's a pretty simple method, and I don't use any new kind of binary stuff. It's everything is already out there, and it's going to be pretty simple.
Now, I did see earlier, and we spoke about this previously as well, that you do have DKPKG installed for people who want to install Debian packages on your system the way it is now. However, once you have your package management system installed, then it will handle dependencies and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, well, I had hidden behind an option of keeping DPKG installed on Cynx just for the sake of it, because let's face it, I'm just one person. I can't possibly create thousands of packages, and it helps me in every kind of way, and not just me. It helps everybody that's going to use the distro, because they have a lot of things already ready, and it is mostly compatible with Debian packages.
All right, now Ryan Linux Hack is on IRC here, and he wanted to ask if a person wants to get started developing for Linux, what should they do?
Linux from scratch is pretty much simple. It's following everything that's on the documentation on the book. As they say it, it's just commands after commands and configurations. The only thing that's going to be difficult is probably the configuration, the bash configuration files that are going to take care of the startup. That's a bit of a challenge.
Now let me ask you here. I know you've been working on this project for 2 years now. Would you say this was like a hobby of sorts? Were you spending like maybe a few hours a week on the project, or were you spending quite a bit of time on this?
I've been spending quite a bit of time on this now. Lately, after I actually stabilized the whole system, FS part as a hobby, but I see that some people at least like it, so I take it kind of seriously.
I had a look at the video. I'm now in the process of downloading the ISO and having a look around and stuff like that, the website and all that sort of stuff. But when he told me about it and I had a look at the distro and saw that it was based off LFS, it really excited me because because LFS, although it's a lot easier than what it used to be when I started doing building Linuxes, like Linux distros and stuff like that for personal use on a machine or something like that. Even though the process is a lot simpler now through LFS, it's still quite a complex and daunting task, really. Just the amount of docs and stuff you've got to follow to be able to get it to work right, and then you've got dependency building and all that sort of stuff. Having at least the very start of it done with at least Xorg and some base utils to be able to make the distro work was kind of exciting, because it gives you, like, if someone really wanted to get in and figure out how to do it and how Linux works, then you'd be able to point them in the direction of Cynx, because it doesn't have any of the nonsense that Gentoo carries on with, and it doesn't have the elitist crap that carries on with when it comes to looking for some sort of support. And while Gentoo compiles all of its package via package management, and Arch uses apps for that sort of process, you don't really get to compile a package per se, because you still have a utility that helps you walk through it. Whereas Cynx, takes you right back to basics, where you build the package manually by hand, and that was a pretty exciting prospect from my point of view of it. Anyway.
Okay, OptiChip just chimed in, and he had a question for you, Constantine. Would it be better to develop a system of binary packages? People in general do want to be able to just install packages from time to time without having to build them from scratch. I mean, if you're planning on releasing this to the public, there should be some consideration regarding the user.
That's true. That's why I actually include DPKG, one of the main reasons, and that's why I'm developing my own package manager. And there are already quite a few packages, Cynix native packages, that are available on SourceForge that you can download and install, and they're fully compatible with the system, and you don't really have to tweak or compile anything, really. You just type in a command and you have it.
Okay, now, while we're on this topic here, you also have some other packages that you are developing for this operating system, namely a web browser and a music player. Please tell us a little bit about those.
Well, the music player is already installed in Cinux 1.7. It's also on the on the application bar on the bottom of the screen. Well, it's just an MP3 music player, which works on top of the M player and simplifies a lot. And it's written in Python. Everything practically that I write for Cynx is written in Python, just to create a lightweight and fast environment. Now, the web browser, well, I have two categories. I've got two sub-projects, actually, for the web browser. The first one is the so-called Jet browser. It's a project that started actually from Windows, yes. And I now just translated the whole thing into a WebKit project for Linux, and it actually works on every Linux distribution out there. And the other part, I forgot the name of the web browser's browser. You can find it through the blog. And, well, the other project is, I call it Cynx Blue. It is a user interface, a web user interface coded entirely in HTML and JavaScript that works on top of the Mozilla Chrome list project. And I intend to use it as a web user interface for a future sub-release of Cynx.
Just with the web browser there, I'm guessing it would also be coded in Python, so that would be along the lines of Google Chrome, for example, which is coded in Python. Would you be using WebKit, and what GUI tool would you be using, GTK or Qt?
Well, yes, it is coded in Python. I want to keep everything open source as possible as it can be, and as lightweight and fast as it can be. And it is based on GTK and Python WebKit and Python GTK.
You say that lightweight. I mean, I'm a really, really big fan of Python, as everyone knows. But can we really call Python the most lightweight programming language out there? I mean, if you want to keep things really lightweight, would it not be better if you coded it in the likes of assembly?
Well, if we wanted something incredibly lightweight, that would probably mean that we would have to code something in Bash, but let's face it, Bash can't do everything. But Python as a scripting language, it just, let's say, interprets the code right that moment, and in a matter of in means of memory consumption, at least I found it faster and resource saving, let's say, if I can say that.
Oh yeah, I totally understand. I'm a big Python developer, so yeah, I got what you're saying. I'm just sort of kind of offering an alternative, a more low-end programming language that would perhaps increase stability. But Python, it is really useful. It's high level, so it makes it kind of easy to understand. And I actually really like Python, so I wasn't getting on you on that one.
Okay, now, Constantine, Pingcasts wanted to know, what text editor do you like to use and why?
That's a good question. I don't really have a favorite text editor, but if I could say that I had, that would probably be Kate. I like just how everything is aligned, how everything is right there, and you can use it right away.
How do you intend on managing mirrors? So, say because I run a full Arch repository here, say I wanted to add the Cynx repository as well. How would that be possible? And do you have to do anything special? Like with Arch, I've got to rebuild a database file every time a package updates, or the rsync pulls in new files or whatever. Also, with the package management, is it as simple as something like, say, like wget the package name and then execute a script to install said package or whatever?
As all other applications on Cynx, it's coded in Python just to make it simple and easily configured. There is an internal database. Actually, it's an array of package names, and it's within the code of cget. That's what it's called. Cynx get the command actually. So if you go into the code, you will actually find the array that contains every package. And if you create a package, all you have to do is just add a link to the repository and the name of the package, and that's pretty much it.
So basically, you can't move along the lines of, say, Pac-Man or Apt or something like that, where it doesn't necessarily need to know, but it's capable of searching.
Oh, yes. However, it's not quite developed yet, so it is kind of buggy. But that's that's a fact. Like
at the moment, I have a massive fascination with repositories. I really do. Like I say, I've got an entire archery bow sitting not 2 feet away from me, and I'm looking at trying to at least get a lot of the most common packages from the Arch Linux user repository compiled and banged into a repo, so that those are more easily available via Pac-Man as well. So when I see something like cget and all that sort of stuff, it tweaks my interest because I have a massive fad with package management at the moment. So and that's why I was curious, like, if I bang a file onto a web server somewhere, essentially the same as like an archery bow. I don't need to build a database file, but is the package manager capable of searching that directory instead of adding more lines to the code of the package management system?
At this very moment, no. I was actually intending to do that, but I didn't want to create a lot of file dependencies within the system, and I actually saw that it was working quite well. And you can actually search, and there is a subcommand for cget that gives you a list of every available package, and it does it instantly. And I was quite afraid that it would take off a lot of time, if I tried to search a database that was stored somewhere in the file system and take the data off of that and print it.
Now, I have a question here from Red Linux on IRC, and he was asking, will you be releasing your browsers and media player as tarballs so people can use these on other distributions?
Jet Browser is already available for any Linux distribution out there. The only thing they need is the WebKit and the Python WebKit bindings. Now, Cynix player, the media player, is theoretically it can work on any machine, on any Linux system that has mPlayer installed, and however, I haven't really created a package and distributed it. However, I guess they can easily parse it through through Cynix.
Well, my next question there would be, if you're trying to aim for super lightweight, as far as the entire distro goes, instead of having something like mPlayer or something like that, because I find a lot of GDK and Qt applications really do. They bulk up the system, especially when everything they do is all in one package, and they don't call other packages for help. Have you considered maybe just writing a front end for something like MPD? That way it's outside help. There's two processes instead of one. While that sounds bad, it usually translates into a lot less system load, because there's more than one method of having something do something, if you understand what I mean.
Well, if I did get what you said, I try not to load the system just because it's not worth it, and let's say it's pretty irritating. If there's anything else that I didn't cover, please tell me, because I don't think I understood the question.
So basically, well, the first part of the question was, have you considered using another system besides MPlayer for the basis of your media player? And the second part of it was like MPD with the way I run MPD, because I run a Curses front end for it, and basically that uses 0 resources essentially, and MPD uses an incredibly tiny amount. You could then put, you could bulk it up a little bit more by writing a Qt or GDK application to go over the top of it, and interfacing with the daemon, which would still more than likely help bring the load on the system down, even though now you've got 2 processes to handle the one task. But that's exactly the way that it brings the system load down, because there is now 2 processes that can handle that task, so they don't have to work as hard to complete the task, whether it be playing a video or, obviously MPD can't play a video, but playing a song or whatever.
Okay, sorry, I didn't get your question before. Now, as far as why I'm using MPlayer, well, no, I haven't really thought of using MPD or something else. But the reason I'm using MPlayer is because it's pretty stable, and it can also play videos. And the main thing is that I wanted to create a media player. But I also wanted the user to be able to watch a movie, which he can easily do with MPlayer, and there is nothing else that he could ask for. Everything is there.
Well, I can tell you that from what I've seen so far, this looks like this is going to be a magnificent distribution for people to download. Once you have everything completed with the package management and all the tools that will come with this operating system, this is going to be a magnificent base system for people to download and build on top of. A lot of people, when they download a Linux distribution, such as Ubuntu, Pingai OS, Mint, these distributions come with, a lot of times come with more applications than people want, and they end up uninstalling a bunch of applications, just so that they can have the bare minimum. And so having a system that is minimalistic to begin with gives people a chance to build the system that they essentially want. And I think this is a magnificent contribution that you're making to the community here. That was my intention of creating a minimalistic environment. There are not a lot of applications installed, but mostly I tried to cover a lot of dependencies of which applications work off. As you might have seen on the website, there are several applications people use every day, like Skype, Google Chrome, DOSBox for the more geeks, if I could say that. Everything works out of the box, and actually that's why it's 860 megabytes or so. No applications, not that many applications, but just every dependency is being, at least I try to keep it, satisfied. Exactly. Now, I had somebody make a comment on my channel with with the review that I've done, and your download size is a little bit large for being a minimalistic operating system. Would this be because of drivers and that sort of thing in the back end?
No, it's mainly because I've added a lot of libraries, as I said before, just to satisfy dependencies of applications people use every day. Now, minimalism isn't always a matter of how large the ISO is. It's a matter of what it brings to your desktop. And, since a user is able to get something that's not heavy to the eye or the spirit because he doesn't have to compile or download extra packages for his favorite applications. That to me is minimalism.
Okay, so excellent. So it already has most of the libraries that everybody's going to need. So if they want to just simply install some graphics tools, maybe some multimedia tools and that sort of thing, pretty much most of the dependencies are already built in, so they're not going to need to have to download all of those. So that's a wonderful idea.
Actually, really impressed with that idea. I'm developing my own distro at the moment. Haven't worked on it for quite some time now. Just have the fundamental ideas down. But I actually might include that in my own distro, including some of the major libraries, because I know people spend a lot of time, at least on Arch, some programs I want to get, they require an awful lot of dependencies. So that's actually a really, really good idea. I probably will implement that in my own distro.
I'm glad I gave you an idea.
You see, that's what the whole Linux community is about. If Valton was here, he'd be saying it. If you share knowledge with each other, things get improved.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing, because I'm always learning new stuff as I go along, both here and as my contribution to the community through doing these shows on YouTube. I'm learning things from my subscribers all the time. I'm learning things while I'm sitting in here and on IRC. And it's true, yeah, Voltem would definitely be jumping up and down right now, and he just commented, we all have knowledge to share. It doesn't matter how little or how much, if you're helping somebody else out, this is the true spirit of the community here.
That's
true. Valtum is jumping up and down. I can hear him all the way from Australia, all the way over there in New Zealand. I can hear the floor as he's jumping up and down.
Yeah, he's making cartwheels in IRC right at the moment.
But that's exactly the reason why we have the community, and like a lot of people have said in the IRC, you come across with a really good approach to making the distro work well, especially basing it off Linux from scratch, where you really don't get a great deal to begin with. And I'm like I say, I was excited because it gives you a really good base to start with. If you really wanted to get down into the nitty-gritties and to start learning how Linux works without having to go through all the mess that you would have go through to get as far as the distro is. It looks great. I've only seen it through Spatry for you. Like I say, I'm downloading it now, and the approach has been. It sounds to me like it has been like very methodical, and it's been very well thought through, and it's moving forward at a steady pace, but a good one.
And I've got this to interject too. There are some distributions out there that are magnificent that are a one-man show. Pinguy OS is a great example of that, probably one of the best distributions out there for beginners. And I can say the contribution that you're making here, Constantine, is wonderful. I mean, you've got a distribution that worked very well for me. I couldn't believe how fast it booted in VirtualBox, both versions of it, mind you. I looked at both 1.4 and 1.7. I love its speed. It's amazing. And I've seen other distributions where they have a team of people that, put together some real garbage. So all I can say is you've made a wonderful contribution to the community. I can't wait to see where you decide to go with this. Before we go to final thoughts here, I'd like to pass the mic to either Oscailt or Setkeh. Do you have any final questions you would like to ask?
I don't exactly have a question. I just want to comment more on what everyone's been saying. The whole one-man show, sometimes that works really well. For a lot of work I've been doing, a lot of development, one-man show. But today, for some reason, a lot of people have given me really, really good ideas, and I'm planning to implement those ideas. Earlier today, I was talking with Setkeh about a mumble command line interface I was creating, and he'd given me loads of ideas, and just here now, I've got lots of ideas. I see development as a really strange thing. I think one person should work on it, but they should have a lot of people behind them that give them all the ideas. Because sometimes, as you said, a lot of people working together, they just talk, and it gets really confusing, and nothing ever happens. So development should be listen to what people say, and it will be brilliant. And I actually like the fact that Constantine is in here, and he's listening to us. He may take some of our advice today and implement it, and that's really good, because it makes the distro better for everybody.
Exactly, and let me comment this: what a lot of people are doing, what you are doing as a crime scene. If you want to know the truth about what's hidden behind the crime, you should ask, and you should know what a lot of people think about. So that's what I did here. I obviously picked Linux, but I saw some good things from every operating system that's out there. The thing that we were talking about just before, all the libraries that I included in satisfying all the dependencies for applications, I got that from Windows. I see that Windows is an operating system that everything works off almost without any dependency. So I like that, and I had to implement that. I saw from macOS the minimalistic user interface, and I said to myself that I have to implement something like that too. So I can't say that I really stuck to an open source idea. Let's say I saw into everything, and I got ideas from older ideas, and I re-implemented them, and I hope I made them better.
I wanted to ask you, do you have any final comments that you would like to make on Pandora, and where do you see this distribution going in the coming years? I want to think that as a distro, it can provide people whatever they need, regardless of how they want to use their computer. It's not that I'm targeting a single group. Now, in the future, I want to see my distro becoming into something that's not mine, but the community's, and something that everybody knows, it to become truly open source. And finally, I'm trying to implement everything that's on hardened Linux from scratch and cross Linux from scratch, for potentially supporting other platforms and creating a more secure environment to operate on. All right, well, so far from what I have seen, you've got a really nice gem on your hands there, and I can see this really becoming a wonderful distribution. I think the community will accept it, and I think you're going to develop a large fan following as a result of your contribution to the community, and I cannot sing you enough praises for what you're doing here.
I'm glad you see it that way.
All right, well, everybody, I would like to thank you all for participating on the show. Constantine, thank you so much for appearing here. Oscailt and Setkeh, thank you as well. I would also like to thank Edward for providing a backup recording. I will have links to everybody's shows in the show notes below. You can also get access to the Cynx blog in the show notes as well, and you can read more about this distribution, and you can even download a copy. This runs beautifully in a virtual environment, and I recommend playing around with this in a virtual environment first before installing this on actual hardware. And I'd also like to take this time to thank everybody in the listening room who has participated through IRC, and I'd like to thank everybody that's at home listening on YouTube. Thank you, all of you, for another wonderful Zoo Crew podcast, and we will see you next week, same time, same channel.
Today's show was brought to you by the Linux Distro Community. Visit us today at linuxdistrocommunity.com and chat with us on Mumble or in IRC on the Freenode network in the Linux Distro Community channel. The Linux Distro Community. Freedom through the sharing of knowledge.